very turbulent relationship with money. And a lot of that is like our life story, like what we grew up with, how we were wired to think about money. For so many of us, we grew up thinking there was never enough of it, or that if you had it, it was a bad thing. And I just think it's, while it's one of those things we're not supposed to talk about, when we are in a business setting, I think it's one of the first things we should be talking about, because you can be the absolute best hairstylist, you can be the most incredible and inspiring leader, but if you don't run your individual business behind the chair, or you don't run your business consciously on the journey of the money from the guest to the bank, doesn't matter how talented you are, you can be broke forever. So I love that saying that wealth isn't about how much money you earn, it's about how you spend what you make. And that's what the art of profit is. And my sharing those 2 key benchmarks is so fun. And we talk about this any boot camp, webinar we do, I talk about these 2 benchmarks, because they're the 2 things we have the most immediate control over. And this is whether you're a solopreneur in a studio or you're a salon with 100 employees. The principles of money are like, it's a principle. It's just like knowing there's an undertone in the hair. When there's a formula, it's a formula and it works.
You know, I think one of the things that we've noticed from coaching salons now, you know, all over the world, we're in about 12 countries at the moment. And quite often we get the phone call when somebody is like really desperate, you know, they need money in the bank like yesterday, you know, and we've all probably been in those situations as well ourselves, right? And the thing is that most of them think, you know, I need to get a star stylist in, I need to go and find somebody from somewhere, or we need to put some sort of marketing campaign together so that we are packed out. Whereas the secret is that you have probably plenty of money coming through the salon. It's just that it's being spent before it gets to the bank, you know? So as soon as we go in and we look at the spending and what's happening right there, immediately, and this has happened 100% of the time, immediately there is more profit. You know, immediately that salon will go from being in the red to being in the black, you know? And I think that is the key piece. And when Nicole says, you know, it's not how much you bring in, it's the journey of the money and what's left at the end of the day. That is completely true.
Yeah, so the benchmarks that Sean's referring to, the 2 key benchmarks we talk about is how much we should spend when we're ordering product to sell, like our retail products, our home care products, like is there a budget we're supposed to actually follow? And then when we're doing back bar professional products, and most of that we're talking about our color bars, right? So yes, there's shampoos and conditioners and treatments on the backwash, but the majority of the money we spend on professional use performing services is our color bar. And so the 2 benchmarks are how much should you spend in those areas? And I call these benchmarks, I call them benchmarks and not budgets, because again, a budget doesn't sound like any fun. A benchmark sounds like, oh, that's interesting. I want to have a benchmark. Like you automatically, I'm really big into language and how language makes us feel and respond. And so I don't like to use budget because that sounds like absolutely no fun, but benchmark is something like I'm working towards it. It feels positive to me. And these benchmarks are, even if you don't hit the bullseye and get them spot on, if you're slowly working, making adjustments and getting as close as you can, you're gonna win. You're gonna win. So with retail, we say when you look at your retail sales only, 54% of what you sold is your reorder point. Now your markup typically is 50%, right? So I buy it for 8, I sell it for 16, I made 8. But we adjust a little bit for that, for shipping, handling, paying someone to unpack it, you know, just like it's lost in transition. So you get 54% to rebuy. It is important that if you are working with retail lines where you don't have that margin, you're gonna need to adjust, okay? Because not every product line has a 50% manufacturer recommended retail price. But that's pretty straightforward. As long as you're tracking retail sales separate from service, that one's like pretty simple. Back bar is where things get like, whoo, we get in a twist, right?
Also, if you're ordering weekly, then it's obviously it's 54% of the week before, right? If you're ordering monthly, it's 54% of the monthly order, right?
Yeah,
so
the time frame is order to order. And I always suggest we order weekly because we have the most control over anticipating. Retail, we're replacing. Color, our color bars, it's weekly, because if you're trying to order for an entire month, you are panic ordering. You're emotionally ordering of, I don't want to run out of anything. I don't know what I'm going to need 3 weeks from now. But when we order from week to week, we can come up with and get to know our inventory really well. And we can anticipate when we have busier times ahead where we can order a little bit more than we might have needed last week, because we can see, like going into December, we might need to ramp up the volume of what we're ordering. We might be open extra days, and we might be fully booked where we're normally operating at 70 to 80% booked, right? So we will make up the money on the other end. But the budget for professional orders and back bar is 6% of service sales only. And so I gauge that as like 5% to color, 1% to everything else. But like I said, there's lots of variables, and I've got some like, what if I'm not on budget Q&A, like on my Art of Profit cheat sheet, because there's a lot of things that come into play, but inventory is the first and foremost. Is, do you have stock? Do you have boxes, right? When does your color bar look like you're walking into the supply shop, right? We want our color bars to be 1 week's worth of color. And that could mean we only stock 1 to 2 boxes of certain levels and tones because they're just not high volume. And then it might mean that other levels, we carry 10 to 12 boxes a week, right? So it's get to know your inventory. And you don't need like 4 of everything or 10 of everything. Like, get to know what you need in every single tone and level. And you just need enough for 1 week, because that's where a lot of money is tied up for months on end, just collecting dust. So that's the number one thing that can help you get to 6%, is really knowing how much you use from week to week. And a couple weeks of tracking that, you can make some serious adjustments and improvements. And then beyond that, if you're like, wow, I am certain my inventory is at a 1 week level, but I'm still at a 10 to 11% purchase, there's things we can look at: waste, how much of that color is being overmixed and down the sink. We can look at things not being charged for. In these days of balayage, I'm seeing like double toners. I'm seeing, 2 to 3 toners per like balayage application. Are you charging for 3 toners? Right? Because sometimes 1 is built into the price, but toners 2 and 3 are not. Or if they've got long, thick hair, sometimes we need to have an extra product charge. So there's waste. There is everyone on the team charging for what they're actually mixing and applying? And then finally, there is your price point. So doing an analysis of the cost of the line you work with, because there can be a $2 to $3 range in a tube of color between product companies. So the cost of the color you use versus the cost you charge for your services, right? So sometimes it's a menu adjustment is needed.
I think that's been the number one thing, especially with UK salons. We've been working a lot in the UK over the last couple of years, and I think a lot of new salon owners go into the industry thinking to themselves, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create amazing work. I'm going to stock the best of products, and I'm going to underprice everybody else in the market. And that way, everybody's going to come to me instead of going to the salon down the road who are way overpriced. But what they don't realize is that, we have to be charging those prices if we want to have, beautiful product lines, and be able to create these amazing colors. So, quite often when we start to go through this and we realize that people just are still not hitting that 6%, it can often be because of that, right? They've gone in, they haven't realized how much it actually costs them to produce that service.
I love that you said with the product that you keep a week's worth in the back room, so to speak, or at the color bar. What about retail? And so I've been kind of like going back and forth with this in our salons and our schools because I just don't understand why there's retail in a back room. It's like, it's not going to sell. Can't we just buy more retail shelves?
Right.
And have everything out there? I'd rather see 12 products sitting out there of a product than 6 and 6 in the back room. So what is your expertise on this, and what do you recommend to schools and salons?
Yeah, so again, I still recommend weekly ordering, which eliminates the need for products sitting in boxes in a back room. Because guess what happens? You forget it's there. Someone doesn't count it, and then they order more because they didn't see the stash. Right. So I'm with you. I think it's, it's oh God, J.C. Penney, right? One of the original retail, masterminds. Stack it high and watch it fly. No one wants to shop off a empty shelf. So, have enough square footage dedicated to home care. Here's a funny analogy, because I work with, the solopreneur all the way up to like the, 10,000 square foot salons. So if your retail shelf is dedicated this much retail space in your salon, that's about how much you sell. Right. And when you dedicate a significant square footage, right? Real estate's everything. When you dedicate the first third of your shop or the first 25% of your retail space to home care, it's almost exactly mirrors the percentage that retail sales is of your business. So I'm with you. Yes, if you've got so much product, you either need to order less or you need more shelves. Yeah. Right. But I'm a firm believer in get it out there, get it visible, get nesting tables throughout the space where you can do, beautiful little vignettes of, the product of the month or products you love or a promotion that you're doing right now. But I want to see retail I don't want to see products sitting on the shelf. I'd love to see everything completely turn over within 8 weeks. So it's knowing, what are your heroes and what are your zeros? Because if you've got products sitting there that's been there for 4, 5, 6 months, we need to look at, is that a team education problem? Is that a product knowledge problem? Is that that product just doesn't fit our demographic? Like we just don't see the kind of hair, or maybe we don't do the kind of hair that is for that kind of styling. And so it's important to get to know that. Maybe we need to move it out and not restock it, right? So again, it's really, just running some simple reports once a month and knowing like, what are my top products? What are my, like the stuff I never sell? And maybe it's time to do everything in this bin's $10 and move it out and make more room, recoup that money, right? And get a little of the, get your investment back, and then spend more on the type of products for the hair that you do.
Yeah. Another thing as well that we're seeing, especially with some of the more boutique lines and boutique brands now, is that a lot of these companies are getting very creative with how they're working with the salons, and it's great to see. So I think we're coming to a time now where we can come up with some suggestions for our product companies. For example, a company that we came across recently had said to a salon, we will do a sale or return with you. So basically you order whatever it takes to fill the shelves, and you only pay us what you sell. Which of course the salon owner was like, oh God, that's amazing. So fill your shelves for the holidays, have them look absolutely beautiful, and anything you sell, pay us for. If you don't sell it and you want us to take it back later on, we'll take it back. But let's fill your shelves. I was like, wow, that is amazing. She was so happy with that.
It was a really creative idea. Yeah. I think for salons that are in a moment of cash flow problems.
Crisis. Yeah.
Right? Where you don't have the money, so you can't buy it in, but you can't make the money either. You could sell it and make money, except you can't buy it in. So there's just, and even just like individual, there are some amazing support reps from in lots of different product companies that if you can get creative, you can think outside the box a little bit. And I think it's just knowing what support do you need and asking for our product partners for it. Like, what are some options? Art of Profit, when you order it, you buy it. I don't like invoicing. I don't like 30 days later. I don't like 45. I don't like things rolling over. I have the money today, so I buy it in full today. But sometimes with holiday or open investment orders, you do, there are 30 to 45 days before, and that gives you a chance to sell a lot through. So you actually, the first, maybe your order was $1,000 to buy in. The first $1,000 voice off, and then the rest you make profit from. So there are little things like that without carrying, where there's one-off sometimes like that, because you certainly don't want, we don't want businesses missing opportunity because sometimes we got to spend it to make it.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's
with retail. What is what's the percentage of your salons that you're coaching RTS that they're selling? Like what do you see versus the UK versus the US as well too? Like what's the difference, if any?
I don't think it is salon culture to salon culture. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's demographic culture, like between like countries, or it is strictly like you have salons where home care education is a part of their culture, and they tend to have retail to service percentages. I would say like 13 to 25% when it's just like natural, like it's already a habit. I like to see any salons we work with, I want to see a minimum of 15. I like to get to 25.
I would say though that the majority of salons that we begin to coach start off with a really poor retail sales. Nothing. Even if they've got like a really great team and our services are great and we've got a great menu and we're charging enough, and I'll say, how's retail? Oh, it's shocking. Shocking. It's so bad.
And it is, I mean, most salons, it's I'd say like 3 to 5% is like pretty like standard, and that's from like the solopreneur to like the $1 million plus revenue salons. It all depends on if it's a part of their culture or not.
It actually excites me though when I first hear that, because I know straight away that it's totally fixable. There's money there being left on the table every single day, and we just know that it's because the conversation isn't happening with the client in the chair, so it's a quick fix.
Yes.
I love that you said if it's a part of their culture, and I think that's so true. And one of the mistakes that we saw in our salons was exactly that. We didn't have a culture of selling retail, and we came to this realization was like, oh, we need a culture. We need to have it written down. And I find, not only with myself, but other salons that we coach as well too, it's the same situation. If it's not written down, it's not culture in your salon, right? And so talk about that. How do you coach a salon team of how to make it part of their culture?
This is, we call this like mindset mastery, right? So it's the same thing when we talked about people's perception of money. There is a pre-wired perception with most hairstylists is I'm not a salesperson, because they think they have to sell product. And that's like the first thing we address is, when we're in a room, or most classes now are like this, where we're virtually with other stylists, you just gotta I like to get real with it. It's clients, when I go into the salon, even now, when I go into the salon, it is special to me. It is time I've marked out. I look forward to it. And I want to take a bag home with something in it to keep the fun going, right? So to me, we get all tied up and we got to sell products. Product is fun. Like, this is like, I get to play with hair. I get to play with makeup. This is like what we live for. And your guest lives for that. And so we gotta bring the fun back into it. And so with retail, we don't go in saying like, you gotta have a retail per client ticket of this, you've gotta have it's like, we gotta have some fun. Like, how can we have fun with our guests today, right? Is it all about big hair today? Is it all about sleek and smooth? And how many hair wardrobes does your client have? Because everyone needs 3. Because we certainly don't get up and put the same clothes on every day. Like, there's a mood, right? Am I in the mood to wear this today? No, I'm not in the mood for that. Oh, like, I'm in the mood for this, right? And hair is the same way. Am I smooth today? Am I full today? Do I want to go 3 days without washing my hair? Okay, well, that's awesome. But what's day 1, day 2, and day 3? How do we do that? And so it's just kind of breaking the barrier and saying it's okay to have fun and like just play with the hair, play with your client's hair. Like, what do you like to do? And that, when we start doing that and we say, just, talk about a wardrobe and offer them a wardrobe. And you don't ever have to ask them, like, do you want to buy this today?
No, I think
you don't ever have to use that language.
One of the key pieces that we always talk about is when we had our own salon team, was that we never ever asked them to sell, and I never ever asked them to do add-ons. Right? What I always said was, we are experts and we deliver exceptional service. Exceptional service only happens when we deliver the unexpected, which they know means add-ons. Right? So we've got to be delivering the unexpected every single day. And then we're experts at what we do. So that means that everything that we touch, you need to explain why we're touching it. Why have we chosen this product for you? And how should you be using it at home? And I think when they come across as an expert like that, then of course the guest is gonna want to take those products home. It's never about the hard sell. It's just about explaining what you're doing, why you've chosen that product, why she should be using it at home, the results that she's going to be able to get from it. And then it just takes the whole sales pitch out of it completely.
Yeah. And it's just like, be real. Like, to be honest, like, anyone could use this product. I just love the way it smells. Like, right, there are like, I use stuff in my hair just because I like the way it smells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and it's getting real like that with our guests. Like, they're the same. Like, there are some things, and I think now, especially in this current climate that we're in, there is so little that we can go do, right? Like, I went to my my esthetician, right, like beauty lounge, and I went in and saw her, and I said, just so you know, like, you're my new best friend, because this is like the only thing I can come in and do. I can't go out for drinks with my friends. We can't go to the movies with the kids. Like, there's nothing to do. So I'm like, you're my new thing, right? So it's realizing that right now, especially, we want to feel like we have the opportunity to treat ourselves. And like, I want a new shampoo just because I like the smell and it reminds me of, because the salon smells this way. Great. I'll rotate that with the one that I actually need to control, like, my frizz. So it's just getting real and having fun with product. Like we were kids again. Like, we used to sneak in the cabinet underneath and start like, ooh, what is all this stuff? My daughter's 8. She comes down with a face of makeup. I'm like, where have you been? I was in your cupboard, Mom. And I'm like, that, and it reminds me, like, that needs to be us in the salon. We just need to play. I know the bottle says use it on wet hair, but use it on your dry hair. I promise it's fine. Look at what it does. The same way we kind of talk to each other. So it's just, but I feel like if we start giving them like numbers when it comes to retail, we can lose people pretty quickly. The focus is on the fun when it comes to playing with the products that we have, helping our guests know how to style their hair, how to manage their hair, what to do once a week, what to use every day. And that stuff's fun. Like, if we can reignite the fun, we see that translates into sales.
I love that. Yeah, reignite the fun.
We coach in salons as well. We like to talk about home care as a team and not as an individual, because when we break it down, there's always someone on the team who like sells a ton, and then there's someone who sells none. And so when we make it a collaborative team goal, like, guys, if we achieve this month, then we all get to celebrate something together. Or if you set a weekly goal, then it's like, I'm bringing lunch in, I'm catering lunch for the whole team on Saturday. Or everyone gets a Starbucks from me. The bigger the prize, the bigger the goal.
Wow.
But like, doing things like that as a team and collectively getting everyone to hold each other accountable, and, oh, I loved what you did there. I'm going to use that combination on everyone all day. And then you take the thinking out of it. Just these 3 products on almost everyone up front.
Wow. Mind blown right now. Thank you for that. I'm going to do that right away in our salons. But talk to us as school owners. How can we better equip our hairdressers? And I love the fact that you said to really set them up as experts. And I think that's kind of the bottom line there. You know, we're going to make you an expert. So, but what do you see in cosmetology schools, both, you know, in the UK and the US, you know, wherever you coach, that they need to do better at this, and what can they do? How can they make it work?
Well, I think you know, regarding first of all, are your students, are they marketing themselves as an individual as well?
Correct.
Are they posting on social? They are. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, I think the key piece to begin with, and we say this with stylists at all levels, actually, it doesn't matter whether you're just getting started or whether you've been in the industry for a number of years, is to first of all focus on one thing that you're going to promote yourself as an expert at. So if that is that you are amazing at doing hair up, then that's all that you post about. You know, now that does not mean that that's all you're going to be doing. But what's going to happen is that you are going to be seen as an expert. And the thing is, when you're seen as an expert in one thing, you're actually seen as an expert full stop. Right? You're seen as an expert at what you do. Whereas most hairdressers out there are posting about everything that they do. You know, they're posting a blow dry, then they're posting a balayage, and they're posting a hair up, then a haircut, right? And it kind of dilutes their brand. Whereas if you think about the majority of, you know, the celebrity hairstylists, right? The ones that you see all the time on Instagram and on Facebook doing lives and things like that, most of them have become famous for one thing. You know, I always think like of Nick Arroyo, right? Nick, I've known for many, many years now. And I remember when he left Sassoon and he went over and started over at Bumble and Bumble. And then he went off and started his own brand then as well. And Nick knew that he needed to become famous and become recognized for what he did, right? And so what he did was, even though he'd been Sassoon trained and cut everything with a pair of scissors, very blunt, very clean, you know, those geometric shapes, he started cutting everything with a razor. Absolutely everything. If you wanted a blunt haircut, he cut it with a razor. If you got fine hair, he cut it with a razor. You got curly hair, he's cutting it with a razor, right? And what happened was he became renowned as the guy with the razor. So every time he was on stage, he'd have his razor in his hand. Now, I know that Nick also cuts with the scissors every day. And he sees a lot of clients that are like, get that razor away from me, Nick, just use the scissors, right? But he knew in order to build his brand and build his name and be recognized that he had to have something that was different, and he had to talk about one thing consistently. And so what I would say to your students is that, you know, it's the exact same thing. Pick one thing, right? And it doesn't have to be forever, but maybe it's for 3 months at a time, right? I'm just going to focus on, you know, my hair cutting right now, my classic hair cutting. I'm a classic haircut expert. And I'm just going to be posting about that. And it's going to be for 3 months. And that's all I'm going to post. And you're going to see that the phone's going to start ringing, and they're going to be people asking for you for that specific thing or something connected to it. And one of the girls who worked for us, Caitlin, she went and she got to a point where she was about 70% full. You know, she was doing really well, but she wanted to get completely fully booked. You know, her dream was to be booked weeks in advance, right? And I said to her, okay, pick an expertise. We need to start promoting you as an expert in one thing. What do you want it to be? Now, she was an amazing colorist, and she could literally do every technique under the sun. And at that time, they had just launched fluid hair painting. Do you remember that? A few years ago.
On the table.
They would line back and sand their hair out on like a glass table. It was balayage basically. But it was very visual. It was very visual because she had this glass table with this woman lying back with her hair all fanned out, right? So she said, fluid hair painting expert. That's what I'm going to be. I said, okay, let's do it.
Nice.
So every post that she did was either her in action, before and afters, the products that you use, all these different posts were all connected to this expertise. Now, she only probably did about 3 of these a week, because you can imagine it's not for everybody.
Right.
But immediately she was seen as an expert, and she became booked solid. Literally within about 3 weeks. She went, it just exploded.
People flying up from LA.
Flying up from LA for that service, yeah.
Crazy.
But the thing was that she wasn't just attracting people for that service. She still did her redheads, her brunettes, but all of a sudden she was an expert. She was an authority in what she did. Mm-hmm. So that's the plan behind it.
I think to speak specifically to schools, like young professionals, I think it's important that at every level, there is something we become an expert at. And so when I think of young professionals, you know, maybe it's blow drying, right? Being able to manage and help you learn how to blow dry your hair, right? So it's the expertise. And with school, I think the biggest thing is to help young professionals realize we have to think like our guest, not as a hairstylist.
Yes.
What problems do our guests have? What solutions do they need? Instead of it being me, right? It's about we're service providers, right? It's about the service that we're giving to someone else. So I think for young professionals, it could be styling, knowing how to help you with any styling challenge you have, because a lot of that's product, and they're masters at PK in school, right? It's knowing like what products to use on the hair, wet and dry. I think tonal experts, right? Like knowing how to get the tone right with your skin tone. I think, you know, tools that we use, right? Like talking about like what hairbrushes we use and giving tips on how to use them and why we use them. And like seasoned hairstylists forget all this stuff. They think like everyone knows that, or that's not impressive to my stylist friends that follow me, right? But they forget like the reason we're on social media is because we want to keep our existing clients engaged, and we want to attract new ones. And a grid full of hair is not going to put a new guest in your chair. Right. It has to be like, what's going to make you stop if you're reading a magazine, right? It's you know, how to style your hair on day 2. It's how to eliminate frizz. It's how to hide roots if you couldn't get in before a big night out. Like these are challenges that as a consumer, we have every day. Yeah. And so when you post that kind of content and you give them a sneak peek of behind the scenes of you mixing the color and like all the potions that we use, the magic that we do, and because guests love to feel like, oh, what do they do back there? And you give them that little sneak peek, and then a little bit about your personality, right? I love pugs, and someone's like, I have 3 pugs, I'm gonna love her doing my hair. Yeah. Right? It's like a little bit of personality. It's a little bit of behind the scenes, like the magic of what we do as hairstylists. And then it's problem and solution. That's what, and we like to say problem and solution related to your expertise. If you're a blonde expert, then you're posting blondes all the time. Like, did you ever wonder how, you know, even with fresh highlights, your skin, it looks darker when you go home, right? Because the tone's wrong. Like talking about anything related to your expertise, but that problem solution, right? And there's fun things you can do on social media. You can say, have you ever, comment, and then a couple stories later, then you give the solution. And then it's like people are really following you and really engaging with you.
I think that's a key piece though, what you just said there though, that I think a lot of hairdressers out there, and they don't even realize it, a lot of them themselves, is that when they are posting, they're really posting to show other hairdressers what they can do. Yeah. They're actually, and I don't think they really recognize that that's what they're doing. But is that picture really putting another client in your chair, or is it just really showing how talented you are as a hairdresser? And don't get me wrong, there is a place for that. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we should be showing what we can do to other hairdressers as well, for other hairstylists as well. But I think that we need to remember that the key piece to marketing ourselves on social media is to get that next guest in our chair.
Yeah. I love that you're talking about, you know, social media to really build your clientele. And I want to stay on this just for a moment, because I know we have a lot of stylists that are really struggling with building. We have future professionals in our schools that are really struggling building a clientele. And I think I know what the solution is, but it's in order to get the solution out to them, I want you guys to talk about this, because you hit on something. You said a little bit of personality. And I think we've got a lot of personality, unfortunately, and not enough hair happening on the pages. So I love the fact that you said, you know, position yourself as an expert in one area, focus on one area, even if it's just 3 months at a time, and focusing on problem and solution. Look at the eye of the guest. And it's interesting because I always try to give that piece to my stylist and say, hey, I'm a guest in your chair and this is what I see. And in fact, I go to different salons all over the country so that I can experience as a guest, like what's going on out there. And most hairdressers do not position themselves as an expert, because honestly, you can sell me anything. I would probably even buy product that I normally wouldn't even use just because I'll buy anything, right? But no one ever sells me anything. Hardly anyone ever sells me an add-on. And trust me, I know that I need, you know, conditioning treatments in my hair, and I know that I need all of this, but no one offers it to me, you know? And so let's talk a little bit about that, because I think it goes deep. It's, you know, the roots are deep, you know, of why people aren't putting themselves out there, of, you know, coming up, becoming an expert, but a little bit too much personality and a little bit too much of agenda, you know, where they're, you know, showcasing maybe character flaws are happening out there. And it's like, no, you guys, you're a professional now. Like, let's talk about that. Like, what do you see and what advice do you give for marketing yourself and for what you put out there? And do you recommend having a personal page and a professional page? Like, what's your suggestions that you give?
That's the answer to your question, is we need to separate the two.
Yeah.
Yes.
We always recommend a professional and a personal. Personals, like, you know, vacation, the plate of food, like night out with the girls, that's fine. And not that your guests might not go follow you there as well, but to have a voice and a place where this is who I am when I'm on this page. And again, like, it doesn't mean you eliminate all personal things, but you do enough that if there's a favorite restaurant, or I've got dogs, or I do yoga, or I'm into, like, you know, I'm training for my first triathlon, you know, like stuff like that, where people are like, I connect with that. Mm-hmm. Right? So, you know, and that can be whatever that is for everybody. But I think a little bit is good, but then that's your place. Like, you've got permission to, like, just talk about, like, what you do in the salon.
The easiest way to kind of track to make sure that you have a balance between the personal and the professional stuff on your business page is really to have a post schedule, right? Have a schedule mapped out, whereas each day you know what you're going to be posting. So if it was like Monday was product of the week, right? Tuesday might be your favorite how-to. Wednesday might be a before and after, right? And the week goes on. And then one of those days is going to be just a little piece about you, whether that's a quick video, whether it's a shot of you out doing your favorite hobby, playing with your dog, whatever it is, but it's happening once a week. And then 6 days a week, it's all about you as a professional, right? And I think that having a schedule mapped out where you know, okay, Monday is this, Tuesday is this, Wednesday is this, makes it super easy to know what to post. Right, because you go in on a Tuesday and you're like, okay, well, it's how-to day today. So I'll just do that one, that quick hair up that you can do when you go from the gym straight into work, right? I'll do that today, right? So whatever it is, you can do it. Or if it's product day, you're like, okay, well, it's product day, that's an easy one. Whereas if you're thinking about what am I going to post today, it's like the ocean is so wide that you can't think of anything. You know, it's like, oh my God, I just posted that yesterday. It's going to be the same again today. You know, so a schedule, even though it's structured, makes it much, much easier for you to know what to post.
I think that's the key to communicate with stylists, because we're creatives, is that when we have a schedule or a structure, mm-hmm. it actually frees us, right? Because we don't have to think. Right? Mm-hmm. I always say all the time, I don't like to think, right? I like to do. Right? I know we spend more time having to, you know, I think about the list of things I have to do where I could have just done something instead, right? And that's like the thing with social media is that when they follow a schedule, and you can come up, again, I like language, you can come up with a much more fun name and schedule for it. But when they follow a plan, right, then it unleashes the creativity, because then it's like, it's, you know, gosh, I've got a big gap today. You know what? I'm going to shoot my next 4 weeks how-to videos today. I'm going to get them done. Boom, 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 boom. Right. And then maybe there's, you know, maybe several people have some gap, you know, have some opportunity on their day, and they can team up and be like, let's do product photo shoots. Let's do it all together. And like they can get, and then it becomes a creative little photo session with, you know, with products and arranging things. And so, and schedules allow us to take off the plate what I have to do. And then I just get to be creative in what it is that I need, you know, that I get to do.
So good. I love it. And I love that you said, you know, separate personal from professional page. And, you know, it depends on how much time, of course, that you have. That's what I always tell, you know, our stylists. It depends on how much you want to be married to your social media to have both. And I recall one of our partners, our business partners, at first she had, you know, personal and professional. And now she says, I kind of wish that I only had professional. She said, because it's like a full-time job for me. And so it's really frustrating. So now I'm kind of seeing her kind of deleting that personal, you know, profile page and, you know, just moving into the business. And great advice, David, on both of this. And I love the fact that you're talking about setting a plan, a marketing plan. And we've been sitting down with our take-home leaders and with our social media leaders and, you know, saying, let's plan this out. And ultimately, of course, I'd love to be able to have an annual plan of like the big rocks, right? And so, but in the beginning, of course, like you said, you know, maybe it's a month at a time or a quarter at a time, you know, kind of building up to that. Talk to us, well, how do you coach salons as far as marketing plans? Do you have any of them on an annual marketing plan where they're planning out their schedule for the whole year, 6 months or quarterly?
Yeah, I mean, it depends where in the year we start partnering with salons, but essentially the thing to work on, right, as a salon owner, or if you work just, if you are your business, right, it's just to not be working in the moment. So if you're just working 1 month ahead of where you are now, you're
missing it.
No, you're on it.
Yeah.
If you're, you want to be at least a month ahead of where you are today. So here we are, the first week of October. October's been planned. I'm planning out November right now. October's just implementation. Now, the bigger your business, the farther out you need to plan. So, you know, if you're multiple locations, if you're a team of 20 plus individuals, we need a quarter at a time, because executing promotions and what's involved in that it's to scale, and it's much bigger, and it's a much bigger pool of customers that we need to target and work with. But I always think wherever you can decide to, we did this when we were all reopening, we said, you know, let's get some kind of strategic plan from now. We did 3 months, and right now we're doing it again. So we're like the last quarter of the year. We've got a couple months reopened under our belt. We can make some strategic predictions of what the next few months can look like. And then we'll assess again in January. But yeah, realistically, January 1st, I think you can have a overview of a marketing map from month to month. Obviously, certain holidays and things dictate, you know, you've got Valentine's Day, you've got Mother's Day, Father's Day, back to school, you know, seasonal transitions, like all those things plug in really easily, and they're just on repeat every year. But then within that, we can come up with interesting promotions, guest incentives, on things that aren't so mainstream. Like if we did like a scalp health month, and then all the products and treatments that go with that. If we did, you know, if you have beauty as well, you know, bringing skincare out to the salon clients. So, you know, interesting things, just keeping, then there's a product promotion, there's services, there's home treatments that partner with the services you're doing in the salon, and your social media follows that same thing. So there's always something kind of new and interesting that's coming every 4 to 6 weeks. that is sort of like the salon conversation.
And I think as well for the team members that, you know, one of the biggest excuses that we get with working with individuals or working with stylists is of course time. You know, I'm already busy. I'm seeing a lot of guests. I haven't got time to take the photographs and then post them and everything.
Right.
And you touched on it earlier, Nicole, but I think one of the best ways to make sure that you've got plenty of inventory is to just have a fun evening at the start of the month where you get together as a team and you have a social media night. Yeah? You do each other's hair, you take a load of photographs, a load of videos, right? So you've got, I mean, you can have one model and you can take 25 pictures or videos of the whole process, from the consultation to the shampoo to applying the color or doing the haircut to the blow dry, all the products used, and you've got a month's worth of posts ready to go, right? And you can do that in one evening. So then there's no excuse.
I love it. I know before offline, we talked a little bit about, you know, how are some of the salons doing throughout the country? And you said majority of the salons that you coach are doing extremely well. And we've been talking about, you know, after COVID and quarantine, you know, that, you know, I believe that COVID really separated the players from the pretenders, we call it. And so we're able to really see, you know, who planned ahead and who was prepared for this, and, you know, who had the appropriate money sitting in the bank really to cover expenses, right? And so talk a little bit about, I know we're getting to the end of this podcast, but talk about a little bit about what separated the players from the pretenders, and which salons do you see that are making it or even possibly scaling right now?
You know, I think you're exactly right, by the way. I mean, what COVID did, what lockdown did, was it speeded up the inevitable. Whatever direction you were moving in, it speeded things up, probably by about 3 or 4 years at least. All right. If you were on your way out, you got there a lot faster. If you were trying to grow, you got there faster. And we've seen so many salons that have now taken the opportunity to expand, to open other salon locations. You know, we have one guy that's just opened his second, looking at his third. We have another salon over in Ireland that's looking at another location as well. And so the reason I think that these salons have been able to stay afloat of what's happened and really kind of grasp this opportunity, because I believe in every situation there's opportunity, right? You know, and what they've been able to do is they've looked at what are the other streams of revenue that we need to add to our business. What's going to make us completely, what's the right word for it?
It's just more secure.
Yeah, secure proof, really. You know?
What's happening under the roof.
Right. So for instance, you know, most salons, they're looking at service revenue, of course, from their clients, and they're looking at retail from their clients. If the salon closes, then that's gone 100%, right? So the first thing that we did when the salons closed down, of course, we were worried for a second, because we're coaches, we're business coaches, and there's no businesses open, right? So the first thing that we did was we looked at online sales, right? So opening online stores for products. So that was the first thing that we looked at, and so many of them jumped on board with this straight away, and some of them were making tens of thousands when their salons were closed, right? The next thing that we looked at was online education. What are the classes that you can be teaching? Again, there's a lot of free stuff out there, but there's a lot of really amazing paid stuff out there as well. And we showed them exactly how they need to be transitioning to teaching online, right? Which again, is a completely different technique to just doing a demo online. Actually having a class that you are communicating correctly with the people watching your class, and creating these really amazing classes. And so that was the second thing that we did. And then we also started looking at what are the high-end services or high ticket services that we can be doing when we get back that maybe we weren't doing enough of before. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of these salons have looked at, okay, I want to be doing more of the high ticket services. I want to be looking at things even like hair retention, hair replacement, stuff like that, you know, because a lot of these salons, especially over in the US, and we were talking to quite a few people that are experts in hair retention and hair replacement. And it actually transitioned the position of their salon from being just a salon to being more of like a clinic. And they became essential rather than being, you know,
didn't have to close.
Didn't have to close anymore because they seen as an essential service. So there's different things, but I think multiple streams of revenue is the key. You know, if you're still just relying on clients coming through the door to bring in all the money for your business, then of course, you know, there's a good chance there that you're going to be making zero if this ever happens again.
Absolutely.
I also think there was this was like so fun to see like happen, like once we got back open and we saw like what was going to actually happen with like the figures. But we had salons going from double booking to not double booking, right? Working one-on-one with guests. Right. And that's a huge transition because, as you know, like most people in the industry say, you don't start making serious money until you start double booking. So until every processing time, I've got another client in my chair, right? So when I was in the salon, I often had, I pretty much only did color. I'd have 3 to 4 people at one time in the salon while I was working all day long. Right. And so now we've gone to like working one guest at a time, one in, one out. And that was a huge thing, like on paper, projecting that and how that was going to work. Yeah. And we've got salons that they're like, I'm never going back.
Sean had mentioned it earlier as well, that you're seeing as well your highest ticket, right? Highest tickets ever, highest revenue ever. And we're seeing the same thing.
Best paychecks ever.
You know, best paychecks ever as well, right? And it's because they put all that focus onto those higher ticket services, you know?
Every point of the guest experience now, from consultation to when they come back and what they're coming back for, it's being executed much better. And instead of just like, what's my 9 o'clock, my 10:15, and doing what's scheduled on your books with no thoughts, right? We've got time to have ideas for our client and do a few pieces here or add this treatment there. You know, things that can add anywhere from $20 to $100 per client by having the space to do that, to offer other services while they're processing. So doing brow shapings and brow tints, or, you know, things that we can do just like at a brow bar or at the backwash, you know, pretty much anything from here up, it's fair game. And we can do that now while they're processing. So more services, less clients. And that feels good as a stylist. You're like, wow, you've got more energy because you didn't see 10 people, you saw 6.
You know, my older sister, she's a year older than me actually, but she's like my perfect client, right? I talk about her a lot because she's got 4 kids. She is a professional. She owns her own business. And of course, you know, she doesn't have a lot of time to get to the salon. So when she does get to the salon, she wants to get done whatever she can get done. And she just moved down to Cardiff, which is in the south end of our country. And there's a big city there. And she went into this salon, really nice salon. And she got her color done. And so she was there processing. And she said to the girl, I'm not going to be able to get back here for at least another 6 or 8 weeks. What else can I have done today? And the stylist was like, nothing. We don't do anything else. You don't do brows. You don't do brows. You don't do nails. You don't do nails. You know, and that is so the story with the majority of clients out there. They want to have more done when they're in the salon, but we're just not having the conversations. You know, there's a massive opportunity to not make more money from the client, but to deliver a higher standard of service. You know, and then again, she even left without a bottle of shampoo, you know, and she wanted some shampoo, and she got back into her car and she called me up. She goes, you know what? That stylist didn't remind me about a bottle of shampoo before I left either, you know? So.
Yeah, I know. It's just the same story that I receive all over the whole country. And so I ditto that. As we close this out, first of all, I just want to thank you, as always. You guys always over-deliver every single time that we interview you. How can we get a hold of you to join some of your programs? And then Sean's going to take us to the end of this to close this out with the last question.
Yeah, we've got, go to joinhps.com is where we've got everything. about what we do, we have a number of different courses and coaching opportunities there. And then we've also got the High Performance Stylist podcast, which is weekly episodes that we release, and it's all about business topics and different strategies for making you more successful and enhancing your career.
What I love that we talked about today and you just mentioned was your podcast. You actually released one today about marketing, and you said in there that marketing is essential. If you are not marketing yourself and or your business, your days are numbered. And how do we continue to market and be noticed if social media is flooded? So there's a great resource for this conversation to continue. Again, I just think you guys are fantastic, but give a little bit more about what exactly a high performance stylist is so that more people can sign up with you guys.
Yeah, so high performance stylist is just about, it's about wanting to be the best version of yourself as a professional, right? So we spend so much time focusing on the mechanics of what we do, being able to do a good haircut, being able to do a really blended root for balayage, and how to tone, like formulating toners. And high performance stylist is the skills and strategies of taking all of that talent and having a long-term career from it, right? So taking the art and turning it into profit, right? So being able to, our goal for everyone is that you can be in this industry that we both love so much, and you can have an incredible earning potential for yourself, the ability to live your ideal lifestyle, whatever that is for you. And that story is different for everybody, but that it's possible. It's possible whether you're a solopreneur in a suite, or if you're in a little tiny town of 10,000 people, or if you're, on Fifth Avenue in New York. There's a unlimited amount of success that's possible, that is not geography related. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with simple daily practices that if you just knew what they were and you surrounded yourself with people that have that kind of conversation and accountability, you'll see your career look and completely be different.
I also feel it's kind of the stuff that you don't get taught in school. It's the stuff that we don't talk about enough. It's the skill set that we didn't have when we first got into the industry, and many of the stylists that we coached didn't have. But it's also simple to understand, and it's not like a ton of different things. It's a few key components that once they're applied consistently, just kind of skyrocket your career. It's unbelievable what happens, but it's just a case of understanding it.
And so the way we get that across is we have a HPS, High Performance Stylist coaching group. So it's a group format. Our goal was to make it like a no-brainer, affordable for absolutely anyone at any level. And that is 49 pounds or $65 a month. We go live 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, we have live coaching. And then of course you can post, engage. It's salon owners and stylists we're in 14 different countries. So you get a nice cross market of like what's happening in other places, like fresh ideas. But you are who you surround yourself with, right? So it's surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who are trying to grow as a person and grow as a business. And then for those that want more than that, like where they want more one-on-one help, we have several different, one-on-one coaching programs that range from 3 months to 6 months. And that is just on the website. You can schedule a call, and it's just, our coaching isn't template. It's not like do this 7-figure salon coaching with us and here's your templates, fill it out and go do. It really is, it's custom to every business and where you're at in your business, because a business of 4 people 2 years in is different than a salon with 3 locations 17 years in. So it's a custom program to help you wherever you're at in your business journey.
Outstanding. Thank you both so very much for today. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Thank you for your
Bye.
time. It was
Thank
so wonderful to see the two of you and
Yes.
You
keep
too.
doing what you do. It's what you offer to our industry is so amazing and so needed.
Yeah, thank you both.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right. God bless you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.